Gracey. Thank you so much for coming on the show. How's it going?
I'm good, P. How are you? How's your US tour?
Yes, it's been a blast. So anyway, for the new folks, this is my good friend, Gracey Bellingan-Bennett, and she's an attorney based in Dumaguete City. So Gracey, I've been getting a lot of emails from my viewers saying that the sky is falling. It's because divorce is coming to the Philippines. The traditional marriage is done. No point in getting married in the Philippines. It's becoming westernized. The women are marrying men just to get their assets and divorce them and move on to the next guy. Maybe they'll wake up one morning and say, oh, I don't want to be married anymore. But the Philippines isn't even thinking about legislation that allows people to change partners like changing underwear. Right, Gracey?
Yes, right now the current status is still the same. We still don't have any divorce law in the Philippines. In the Philippines, we value marriage ties.
Okay, so tell us about the meat of this proposed legislation and how is it different from a divorce, say, in the US?
Compare it to the grounds of divorce in some Western countries, there is what you call a no-fault divorce. The proceedings are quite easy if both parties agree to the divorce. It's the bills that I have read so far in the past has no ground similar to a no fault divorce. There's always a specific ground that the petitioner has to prove in court. So there is no such thing as just because there is irreconcilable difference of the two of you during marriage, you can already file a divorce. No, that's not contemplated in the bills, which is entirely different from the divorce law you have in the West. Because again, as what I've said, they want the divorce law to be a last recourse for the termination of marriage. It's not something that just because you don't like to be married, you can terminate the marriage. It's not going to be that easy.
If someone cheated, is it part of it?
Yeah, if they're incorporating the grounds for legal separation, one of the grounds is infidelity. Yes, it could be a ground for the divorce law. Rest assured that whatever laws enacted by the Senate, there is cultural or custom consideration. I think what has been done by our legislature is just to have the grounds for declaration of nullity of marriage or even annulment of marriage or legal separation. Those grounds can be used as grounds for divorce right now. There's not gonna be any no-fault divorce in the Philippines.
It's actually good news for Filipinas who are trapped in paper marriages and for those guys who are in a relationship with a Filipina who's still legally married. You guys know what I'm talking about because I'm always getting these emails saying that, oh, I found the perfect Filipina, but she's still legally married, even though she hasn't seen her husband for 8 or 10 years. It doesn't matter, right? Because you're still legally married. I've mentioned this many times, guys, that you do not want to involve yourself with a legally married woman in the Philippines because it's going to be a sticky situation. Even though they haven't seen each other, the legal husband, if he finds out that you're dating this woman, he can just pop back up and mess things up, right? And you can go to jail, right, Gracey? The worst case
Correct,
scenario.
because the husband has a course of action against whoever his wife is sleeping with. It is a criminal act to be engaged or to have sexual intercourse of someone other than your husband if you are married. So it's the crime of adultery, which has a penalty for imprisonment, not only imprisonment for the wife, but also imprisonment for the paramour or the person whom the wife is having sexual intercourse with.
Filipinos will benefit from this law because it'll free up millions of Filipinas and they can move on with their lives because a lot of them are just trapped in dead marriages. I'm not saying because their husbands are dead, but they haven't seen each other for a while. So I think in a way it is a good thing. But if the divorce legislation was gonna be like the ones in the US or other Western countries, I'd agree with the guys. I'd be worried too. But again, guys, it's not. And it's not a law yet. Right, Gracie?
Yeah, it's still a proposed bill, and just like any other proposed divorce bill in the past since 1986, we don't know yet if this time it's gonna pass our Senate or by our president. Let's just hope it will benefit everyone, or it will benefit mostly those who are trapped in a marriage that, as what you've mentioned earlier, they've been separated for odd years already, and of course, as you are aware of, annulment or declaration of nullity of marriage is almost impossible in most marriages.
They don't have the resources to get an annulment because it is expensive and it's a lengthy process, and there is no guarantee for success. So basically they're trapped. I know a lot of guys are saying, why do I see a lot of Filipinas saying separated? Separated, not divorced, not annulled or something, because they can't afford the annulment, and it might take a while, and there's no guarantee. It might take like 5 years. I know someone personally that it took that long, and now they have it.
That's good news.
Yeah.
Regardless of how long it took her or him to have the annulment, as long as they have it, that's already good news, because again, there's, as what P has mentioned, there's no assurance that, or there's no guarantee that your petition for declaration of nullity or annulment of marriage can be granted by court, because the grounds for these two petitions are very limited, and the way of evidence is substantial, that you really have to provide your evidence to prove your case or you prove your petition.
So, Gracey, what's like the quickest annulment in your professional experience handling such cases?
Okay,
or
so
some other, or from your colleagues?
Okay, the quickest I think that I've come across, or even a portion of the proceedings I was able to handle, was 3.5 years, so 3.5 years. So that's the quickest so far that I'm aware of.
That's the quickest. So what was the longest?
The longest? There's lots. There's even 10 years still pending in court. I know a friend of mine, she's handling 7.5 years already and still pending.
So, Gracey, if this legislation becomes law, will it be a lot cheaper and faster than getting an annulment? If it's going to be faster and cheaper, I think the lawyers are not going to be liking that, because it's going to be because they can earn more if it's like longer. But we're just
actually in my practice, or in my perspective, I would prefer it to be shorter, because the longer it takes, some people might think that the longer the case is, the better for the lawyers because of the appearance fees, etc. But it's also burden, or additional burden, on my caseload. So I prefer to have the case completed as soon as possible, so that I'm able to accept new cases, because acceptance fees is bigger than appearance fees. So I prefer that kind of setup in my practice.
Do you think it'll be approved within 5 years, 10 years?
Okay. Hopefully, I'm just hopeful that it's gonna be during the term of the current senators right now. Otherwise, it might be on the next set of senators, which will happen in 2025.
So I just hope and pray that there are going to be stringent requirements, not just because, I don't want to be married to you anymore, or maybe after 60 days, I changed my mind. So I just hope it's not like the Western divorce or the US divorce, because depending on the state, they could just file a divorce after 60 days. Hopefully, we are not going that way. What about this question? Is divorce legal for Filipino citizens? We know that foreign nationals, they can file a divorce in their home country at the moment. So how about us Filipinos?
Okay, so divorce can also be legal for Filipinos, provided their spouse is a foreign spouse that allows divorce in their country. and that divorce petition is filed in the country where divorce is valid. So let's say I'm married to to Canadian, right? As a Filipina, I cannot file divorce in the Philippines, of course, because there's no divorce law in the Philippines. But I can file divorce in Canada, considering my spouse is Canadian, and it allows divorce or to file divorce in Canada. So I can file validly a divorce in Canada, and that decree that I can attain in Canada can be recognized in the Philippines. But there's an additional step I can do in order for that decree be recognized in the Philippines, should I want to remarry in the Philippines.
Okay. So you can file a divorce in Canada, in the home country of your spouse, which, divorce is legal, then you can file that in the Philippines to be recognized.
Correct, yes.
How is annulment different from divorce?
There are two types of, under layman's term, called annulment. We have the declaration of nullity of marriage and annulment of marriage. These are two different proceedings. For the declaration of nullity of marriage, the grounds for this one would be like the psychological incapacity, the incestuous marriage, bigamous marriage, marriage against public policy. So these are marriages that are void from the very beginning. For marriages that are subject for the grounds under annulment of marriage, the grounds would be that there is lack of parental consent, basically the absence of essential element of marriage, which only voids the marriage once there is a court declaring the marriage null and void. So meaning the marriage is existing until it gets voided by the court. Its effect is similar to the divorce you have in the West, wherein the marriage is valid until it gets terminated by the courts.
So meaning to say you cannot ask for an annulment because of cheating, violence, no?
Unfortunately, those things are only grounds for legal separation.
How about contracting sexually transmitted disease, like something your husband gave you? Can you file an annulment?
Actually, believe it or not, it's a ground for annulment of marriage. When there is a serious and incurable sexually transmissible disease, such petition has to be filed within a certain period. If not filed within a certain period, then you lose your privilege to file for annulment of marriage.
Gracey, you mentioned about legal separation. What does that mean?
The effect of legal separation is just separation for the spouses to live apart and to put an end to their property regime. But it does not terminate the marriage itself. So neither of the spouses can remarry.
Okay. So guys, remember, legal separation doesn't mean to say it's a green light for marrying your Filipina who's still legally married.
So before getting into intimate chat with any Filipina, check first their legal status.
Exactly. One of the requirements in going out on a date, hey, can you bring your Sanumar for our dinner date?
Or just an ID would be enough. And then later on, if the Filipina was just lying on what her true marital status is, then that's a big red flag to end the relationship.
True.
Okay? Yeah.
Because, they said, okay, you can get a Sanumar or the certificate of no marriage, but do you think they can be faked? Because a lot of, shady things happen, documents can be forged or something. How would they know?
In the Philippines, people are quite resourceful. So we can make the impossible happen here. Same thing with making those kinds of documents. We have Recto, we have Quiapo. Those places can make those documents appear to be authentic.
Oh yeah, I think this will solve the problem. If you want to get a real Sanumar, just go with her to the PSA office or the Philippine Statistics Authority office. So that way she can't lie about it. So just go. Yeah, I hate to say this, but having a relationship with a Filipina can be considered as a high risk investment. But if you're lucky enough to get a good one, then you'll get a nice return on your investments. Good ROI. Can foreigners married in the Philippines file an annulment?
Yes, of course, they can do that, but I don't think that would be wise and practical for them considering divorce is faster. And in the long run, divorce there is an assurance to have a decree of divorce compared to, whether your annulment will be granted by our courts here. That's why it's kind of not so common for foreigners to file an annulment here.
They can just get a divorce in their home country. Well, Gracie, thanks a lot for shedding light on this topic because a lot of them are panicking. So chill. Gracie's always here. I'm going to leave her contact info. The best way to contact her is via email, right, Gracie?
Yeah,
Okay.
by email.
All right, perfect. Well, guys, you know the drill. I'll be back in 3 more days with something new for you to consider. So that's it for today. Thank you so much, Gracie.
Thanks,
Bye for
Dee.
now.
Bye-bye.
If you think about it, I'm kind of like your pilot, helping you keep your nose up and out of trouble here in the Philippines. The main thrust of my videos is to keep you entertained and informed about the culture here, so you'll have a soft landing when you arrive. Now please exit my cockpit and return to your seats. Hit the thumbs up button on this video, subscribe to my channel, and enjoy some of my other videos while you relax. Once we reach an altitude of 1 mile, all you club members will have full use of the lavatories.